The San Francisco 49ers 2023 schedule has been released, and before we take a look at this slate game by game, I want to hear from you down in the comments section here on the 49ers Report. Predict the Niners record in 2023. Do that, and let's take a look at the schedule right now. All right, welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. So glad that all of you are with us on a really exciting day on the NFL calendar. It's NFL schedule release day. Finally, we can look ahead to the 2023 season and take a look at this schedule game by game to see how San Francisco can fare, where they go, when they play, some of these opponents that are on the docket, and we can start to talk about some actual football. So without further ado, drum roll, let's take a look at this schedule. San Francisco will begin the 2023 slate on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, a feisty team to start with in week one. They're always well coached by Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season. And I do have Pittsburgh pegged as one of those potential surprise teams this year. This is going to be Kenny Pickett's sophomore campaign. They bulked up the receiving core, bringing in an Allen Robinson. They always have a really good defense. Should be a difficult matchup for San Francisco to begin the season. And as we know, the Niners oftentimes in the first month, sometimes it's a feeling out process for the Niners, and sometimes they struggle in the first month. In week two, divisional play gets underway as San Francisco heads to Levi's Stadium South at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California to take on the Los Angeles Rams. This should be a winnable game for the Niners. The Rams are going to be a down team. They've gutted that roster. They're coming off an injury-plagued season for a guy like Matthew Stafford, but up and down that team, going 5-12 a year after they won the Super Bowl. Can Kyle Shanahan continue to be Sean McVay's daddy? Week three, San Francisco going to host the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. There are 14 matchups this year that include teams going up against squads who are also in the playoffs. This is going to be a pretty good litmus test for the Niners here early in the season to play against the New York Giants, who were really good last year in the first year under Brian Daboll. How do they fare now with Daniel Jones getting that big contract? The roster is certainly a little bit deeper, especially at that wide receiver position. This is one of those early season games where we're going to find out how good San Francisco can be, but also for the New York Giants if they are a legitimate playoff threat in the NFC. In week four, another divisional game for San Francisco, and it's another winnable game. I think that Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to run laps around Jonathan Gannon, who used to be the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Lacked some adjustments in the Super Bowl game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think he's cut out to be a head coach in this league. This is a game in which Kyle Shanahan's offense should be moving. But the big question is, who is going to be the quarterback in this first month for San Francisco? Before we continue to move forward with our schedule, please make sure you subscribe and sub for Niners Dubs. This is a team back-to-back appearances in the NFC Championship game, 3 NFC title games over the last 4 years. You sub, the Niners get those dubs. We surpassed 81,000 subscribers. Salute to all of you who helped us get there. We did it for Terrell Owens. Week 5 matchup. This is one of those games that is going to be one of the most watched games in the NFL this year, and it's going to be a primetime matchup against the Dallas Cowboys at Levi's Stadium. A playoff rematch from 2022 and a playoff rematch from 2021. There is a historic paper trail with these two organizations meeting up in some monster playoff games throughout both of their illustrious histories as both San Francisco and Dallas blue bloods in the NFL. This one could be another playoff preview early on in week 5. From week 5 at home at Levi's Stadium to week 6, the Niners will go on the road to take on the Deshaun Watson-led Cleveland Browns. Cleveland feeling a lot of pressure. And if Kevin Stefanski doesn't have a winning season this year, I think he could get canned. So a couple of primetime games here. You have the Thursday night game against the Giants, Sunday night football against the Dallas Cowboys, Monday night football against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings last year won a bunch of games that were decided by one score or less. That is not a statistic that carries over year to year. I think the Vikings go in a downward trajectory this year. Kyle Shanahan taking on his beloved quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Week 8, very difficult game. And if you remember back in 2021, this was an awesome game between the Niners and the Cincinnati Bengals. It should have been a preview of the Super Bowl a couple of years ago if the Niners didn't blow that lead in the NFC title game against those damn Los Angeles Rams. But this, too, very good test for a team in the Niners who has Super Bowl aspirations against a Bengals team led by Joe Burrow that figures to be a serious factor in the AFC. This game at home certainly does benefit the Niners. The bye week for San Francisco does fall in Week 9. I like where it falls here, directly in the middle of the season. It's not too early. It's not too late. You can reset to a certain degree. Oftentimes in years past, people have slept on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do not do that this year. Trevor Lawrence, he could be a top 5 quarterback by the time this season is over. He finally has a good head coach in Doug Peterson who stood in for the stiff that is Urban Meyer. This Jags team, very, very quality squad that was really competing with the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs last year and won a playoff game. Not only are they a good team, you have to go from Northern California all the way to Jacksonville, where the climate can sometimes cause some problems. Week 11, not going to see Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is it going to be Kyle Trask? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Niners going to host Tampa Bay here, another one of those winnable games. It was a bloodbath between these two teams last year. I think it's going to be a bloodbath once again. This is where the Niners' schedule is very, very difficult for a couple of reasons that we're going to talk about here. And it all happens within a 3-week stretch. Week 12 on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Do not sleep on Seattle. If they had a better quarterback than Geno Smith, they could honestly win the NFC. They are very good top to bottom, thanks to a couple of really good drafts by general manager John Schneider and head coach Pete Carroll. So it's Week 12 on the road against Seattle. Then it's Week 13, NFC Championship game rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles. How can San Francisco fare, hopefully, with the healthy Brock Purdy? We've heard the Niners talk all offseason that if they had a healthy quarterback, they could have won that game. They felt as though they got robbed out of making it to the Super Bowl. The Eagles really did kick their asses on the offensive line and defensive line. San Francisco going to be motivated in what has become an excellent rivalry. Now, why is this stretch difficult? I'll tell you in just a second, because it's Seahawks-Eagles. But first, what game are you looking forward to the most? Seattle's always a good one. Eagles going to be awesome. You let me know down in the comments section. So now you get the Seahawks 2 times in 3 weeks. Prior to last year, in which the Niners swept Seattle, Pete Carroll really owned this organization, not just with Kyle Shanahan, also going back to the Harbaugh days as well. I don't like the idea of playing Seattle 2 times in 3 weeks with a mixed-in trip all the way to the East Coast to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Luckily for San Francisco, after that difficult 3-week spurt there, you go on the road to take on the Arizona Cardinals. I don't care that this is a divisional opponent. You should sweep Arizona, no questions asked. But doesn't get much easier. Week 16, the quarterback who we talked about a lot here throughout this offseason comes to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara on Christmas Day. This is a unique Christmas Day matchup. A lot of times it's a rivalry game or it's a game in the same conference. It's the Baltimore Ravens against the Niners. We're going to be celebrating Christmas Day together, all of us right here on the Niners Report, with a great Christmas Day watch party. Week 17, Niners hosted the Commanders last year. They beat them badly. Now they have to go back out east to Landover, Maryland to play Washington. A schedule note here, the Niners will travel the second most miles in the NFL this year, number 2 behind the Seattle Seahawks. Part of that is where they are in the country, in NorCal, and then you have Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, but it is of note they're going to have to travel a lot. So you look at this schedule, it does wrap up Week 18 against the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be an opportunity here. Cardinals, Commanders, Rams to potentially win 3 of 4. Maybe even if you beat the Ravens, that's 4 straight. And shoot, if you beat the Seahawks here at home, that's 5 straight. But regardless, a difficult schedule coming up in 2023 for San Francisco, but I cannot wait for it. So let's break it down here game by game. Week 1 on the road against Pittsburgh. Can't sleep on the Steelers this year. Week 2 on the road against the Rams. So 2 games on the road to start off for the Niners. Week 3 at home against the Giants on Thursday Night Football, short week. Week 4 against the Cardinals. You have Week 5 against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The ratings are going to pop. Week 16 on the road against Deshaun Watson and the Browns. Then maybe San Francisco will stay somewhere in the Midwest because they take on the Vikings there. Week 7 on Monday Night Football. Week 8, they return to Santa Clara to play the Cincinnati Bengals. They have their bye week smack dab in the middle of their campaign in Week 9. Week 10 against the Jaguars on the road. Week 11 at home against the Bucks. You go to Seattle Thanksgiving Day. So we have a Thanksgiving Day game and a Christmas Day game for the Niners here in 2023. NFC Championship game rematch. Man, helmets are going to be clashing against the Birds. And then Week 14, Week 15, 16, 17, 18, it's Seahawks at home, Cardinals on the road, Ravens at home, on the road against the Commanders, at home against the Los Angeles Rams. Are you pumped up for some Niners football to come back in 2023? The schedule is out. Start making your plans right now. Subscribe and turn on your notifications because watch parties are coming back. And with that, we pose this question once again. I asked you it to start the show. I ask you it now that you've seen the entire schedule. Predict the Niners record in 2023. My prediction coming up on a future Niners Report video.